Hey guys, and welcome to another tutorial. So I made this animation a day ago. It was really awesome. A lot of people liked it. Now I'm going to be showing you how to make this, but I won't be adding all of the little features and details like you see here in my original. So this one here is one we'll be making today. It's still really cool. I think you guys are still going to really enjoy making this. So you can see this is what we'll be making. Just let it play. So it's this little cactus guy, a little drop comes down and he kind of like resuscitates and comes back, and then he kind of falls over again. Now I added a lot more details to mine as you saw in my original, but you guys can probably figure a lot of that stuff out. I'm just keeping this one simple, and I will be making this scene file here that we're going to be creating today. I'm going to be making that available to my Patreons. If you guys haven't checked out a Patreon, there'll be information about that in the description below. But anyway, let's get started. Yeah, this one's a fun one. Open up a new scene, go ahead and delete all of the default objects, and then we're going to go Shift A, go to our mesh options here. We're going to be adding in a UV sphere. We're going to go to our front orthographic view. We're going to tab into edit mode, hit Z, go into wireframe, and what we're going to do is select all of these bottom vertices here, and then we're just going to go E, and we're going to extrude them down. And we're going to extrude them down to this point here. And you can look at the grid spacing here to get reference. So you can see I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 grid spaces down. And then I'm going to go X, and I'm going to delete those faces right there. So this is going to be the height of our little dude. Then we're going to go Control R, hovering over here, and it's going to add in a little yellow loop, and we're going to roll our middle mouse button a few times just till we get in some extra geometry. So just get them so they all roughly look like squares, and then double click, and there you have your geometry. Now what we're also going to do is hit A to select all of this geometry, and we're going to go G, Z, and just bring it up till it is sitting roughly on our floor. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to tab out of edit mode. We're going to go to options here. We're going to add in a shade smooth, and let's add in our armature. So we're going to go Shift A. We're going to quickly add in a really basic armature. And what we're going to do is just, instead of scaling this up, we're just going to grab our character here, and we're just going to go S and just scale it down just a little bit. Just something like this. You can see it is about 4 grid spaces big, so you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. So just use that as a reference. In fact, if I added in a cube here, you would see this is the height of 2 cubes. Okay, so that's the scale we're working with here, and also go Control A and apply the scale. So grab this armature here, and with this little nub on the tip selected, we're going to go E, Z, and just extrude it up to about here, and we're going to do it again, and one more time to the head. And you can add more if you want, but I'm just going to go with this. We're going to be making them bendy bones anyway. So what we're going to do is go to our bone settings here, and we're going to go to viewport display, go down to where it says display as, and we're going to be making it a B bone. And each one of these guys, if we go to our bone settings here, and we go to bendy bones, we're going to increase the segments to 12. So I'm going to make 12 on this one, 12 on this one, 12 on this one, and then the head, I'm going to make it 12 as well. And we're not going to be adding any sort of, we're not going to be adding constraints or anything to this, just keeping it super simple. And then what we're going to do is model the eyes of this little dude here. So we're going to go Shift A, add in a UV sphere again, tab into edit mode, and with this guy, we're going to, with all of these vertices selected, we're going to go in our front orthographic view, we're going to go R90 and hit enter. And then what we're going to do is select all of these vertices on the side here, and we're going to go E, and just extrude them out to about here. And then we're going to go, just leave them as they are. So just select all of this geometry, go G, X, and just move it over so it's roughly in the middle here. This doesn't have to be exact. And then we're just going to go S, and we're going to scale it down quite a bit. Something like this. And you can go SX, scale along the X just a little bit. And then we're going to go Shift D, and then we're going to go R90 and hit enter. So we're going to duplicate it like that to make this little cross, and we're going to hit A to select all of this geometry. We're going to go G, X, and just move it over to the side like this. And just quickly tab out of edit mode, and let's just move this guy up a little bit more. So I'm moving it up to here. Go to my right orthographic view, and go G, Y, and bring it forward in our scene. Just something like this. So tab back into edit mode and just scale this guy up. And then go to your top orthographic view and just rotate it like this and move it in. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then we're going to go Shift D, X, move it over to here, and then rotate it. And I'm not worried about mirroring this because I just think that little bit of randomness is good. And then what I'm going to do is select this guy here, select the vertice, go Control L, that's going to select all of that geometry, go Shift D and bring this guy roughly in the middle here, go to your top view and just rotate this guy straight like that. Move it forward a little bit. This is just going to be our little mouth. And then we're going to go Control R and just add in some loop cuts here. Just roll the middle mouse wheel to add in some geometry and double click. So here we have the little mouth. And because we're going to start with a dead pose, what we're going to do is enable our proportional editing here. We're going to loop select these vertices here. And also under our proportional editing, just make it connected only. Then we're going to go G, Z, and just bring this up and roll our middle mouse wheel to create less of a fall off. Just like that. We're just creating a sad face. And we'll go to Object, and we're also going to enable Shade Smooth. So you can spend as much time as you want with this, just in the edit mode, making a little sad face, bring it down a little bit. Just spend as much time as you want. I'm just going to leave it at this for now. And then what I'm going to do is with this guy selected still, I'm going to go over to my shape keys. I'm going to hit the plus here to create a basis. I'm going to hit it once more. That's going to create my first shape key. I'm going to call this shape key alive. I'm going to hit enter and increase the value over here to 1. Now with value of 1, we're going to tab into edit mode. And here is where I just remembered I forgot one step. Sorry guys. Just tab back out of edit mode, back to object mode. Just a quick fix here. Just quickly get rid of these two. Just go back into edit mode. And 2 more items we need to add. Just go in edit mode. We're going to go Shift A. We're going to add in a UV sphere. And then we're going to go G, Z, bring it up, and just scale it down like this. And we're going to just bring it over here and place it inside of this little X here. And just bring it forward, just so it's sitting in there and you can't see it. Doesn't have to be perfect. And we're going to do the same on the other side. Shift D and just move this guy over to the other side. And I'm going to explain this in a second. It'll make sense. I know it looks really weird right now. So just like that. Go back into object mode, and what we're going to do now is go to our shape keys. Now we can add in a basis and a shape key, and let's just change that to alive. Okay, not too bad. So let's increase that value to 1. Let's tab into edit mode here with that key shape selected, and we're going to grab these loop of vertices here. First of all, go to our proportional editing again, enable it, and going to G, Z, and just bring this guy down and make him smile. You can spend as much time as you want on this. I'm just grabbing some vertices here and just making him look happy because he's alive. And then what I'm going to do is select one of these X's here. And I'm going to just scale it down quite a bit till it's small. I'm going to do the same thing with this one over here. Scale it down till it's quite small. And then I'm going to select this eye over here. And you can make the scale as much as you want, but I'm just going to make it about this big. And I'm going to do the same thing with this guy over here. Just select it, and I'm going to make it about that big. Go to Object, and I'm going to enable Shade Smooth. So let's quickly mess around with this alive slider here. So if we go to the value here and we drag it to 0, he's dead. If we drag it up to 1, he's alive. And that's pretty simple. So with this guy still selected, okay, I'm just having to think about it. So maybe what we should do is just grab this guy first, and holding in Shift, we're going to select this armature over here. Right? Then we're going to go Control A, and we're going to go to set parent to with automatic weights. Okay, that's really good. And now what we're going to do is also grab these eyes here, holding in Shift, we're going to select this rig. Okay, so just hide this guy for now. Just select it and hit H to hide it. Now grab the eyes here, then holding in Shift, select the rig. And then what we're going to do is go into our pose mode here. And with these guys selected, we're going to make sure we have this top head bone selected. So not any of these ones, but the top head bone. We're going to go Control P, and we're going to go set parent to bone. Okay, that is done. So let's go back into object mode. Alt H to unhide everything. So now if we just actually grab that rig here and we go into pose mode, I'm just doing a test. You guys don't have to do this. I'm just showing you what's going to happen. You can see we have this little rig character, and we can also still work with those shape keys to make him look alive or dead. So let's just add some more things to our scene here. Just go back into object mode. And what I'm going to do is go and add in the pot. So I'm going to go Shift A. I'm going to go add in a circle. Tab into edit mode. I'm going to scale that down. Disable proportional editing. No longer need it. And then we're going to go E, Z, and extrude up to about here. And then S to scale it up. and then ES extrude it out, and then EZ extrude it up, ES to extrude and scale it in, and then go into your front view, go into wireframe, and then EZ and extrude it down like this, EZ. So you can make a fancy part. Go ahead, spend as much time as you want. I'm just keeping it simple. Control R to add in a loop here, scale it out a bit. Control R, double G to add in a loop here. Control R, double click, and then double G to slide in a loop here. And I'm just going to scale this in here. So spend as much time modeling a part as you want. I'm keeping it really basic. Tab out of edit mode, and we're going to give this guy a subdivision surface modifier. We're going to go to object and enable shade smooth. And here we have our pot. Then what we're going to do is go Shift A. We're going to add in a plane, and we're going to go S just to scale it up quite a bit. And we're going to add in a camera. So I'm going to go over here. So if I'm in my front and I just move over like this to about a 45 at the top, I'm going to go Shift A. I'm going to add in a camera. With my camera selected, hit 0 to go into camera view. Then hit G, holding in your middle mouse wheel, just pull back and zoom out. Then you can go G just to move around in your camera view. Let's go to our camera settings. I'm going to make the type here a orthographic camera. We can go to output settings. We're going to make the Y value on our resolution 1920. So type in 1920. And here we have a nice scene. So we can mess around with the camera a little bit later, but let's just get into our animation. It's pretty easy. Okay, so let's get into our animation here. So what we're going to do first of all is come over here to our timeline. We're going to go to the end value here on our timeline. We're going to make it 140 frames. So type in 140. And by the way, we are working at 25 frames a second as well. So we're going to just hover over here, drag this bar up. It just gives us a little bit more space. And here we have our timeline. So what we're going to do is go and select that rig over there, this armature, right? And what we're going to do is make sure we are in pose mode as well. That's really important. And make sure you're on frame 1. Now on frame 1, what we're going to do is select this bottom bone here, and we're just going to go R to rotate it over like this. Then grab this guy here and rotate it. And then this one as well. And then the head as well. Just give him like this slopped over dead kind of look, right? Just like that. And depending on how many bones you are or how tall this guy is, it might be touching the ground, it might not. It doesn't really matter as long as he just looks kind of dilapidated or dead. That's fine. So with that done, just hit A to select all of these bones on frame 1. We're going to go I, so hit the I key on your keyboard, and we're going to insert a location and rotation key. Now, we're not going to be using location, but just in case, I like to make it location and rotation. So let's put in a keyframe for us here. You can see this little yellow keyframe has now appeared. And we're going to go to frame 140. And frame 140, so we want this to be loopable. So we're going to go I and insert a location and rotation key. So now we have this one hold in that pose. But what we're going to do is come in here to the middle and make the magic happen. So let's come over to frame 40. And on frame 40, this is where I want him to kind of start springing up. So I'm just going to quickly have a look on my auto monitor just to see my original. And I just want to be sure I'm trying to get it as close as possible. So we're going to be creating a hold for him to be dead to frame 40. So on frame 40, with all of these bones still selected, we're going to go I and insert a location and a rotation key again, right? So we want our hold to be here as he's just laying there. And then what we want to do is we want to come over to frame 70. And on frame 70, we're going to go hit F3, and we're going to type in here clear pose transforms. So just type in clear and then get clear pose transforms. And he's going to be back to where he originally was. And then we're going to go I, and we're going to insert a location and rotation key. So if we went to frame 0 and we hit our spacebar, we should see this. He comes up, but then immediately he starts going down. So we need to create a bit of a hold. So what we're going to do is we're going to select this keyframe here. So just click on here, drag and select that keyframe on frame 70. We're going to go Shift D, and we're going to drag it over to frame, I think frame 100. Okay, to frame 100. So let's have a look at that. So he's going to be dead, pops up, and he has a bit of a hold here. Okay, now what we can do to make it a little bit more realistic is at about frame 75, we can grab this top head bone and rotate it a little bit to the side, rotate this guy, and then rotate this guy a little bit. Then we're going to hit A to select all of these bones, and we're going to go I and insert a location and a rotation key. So he doesn't just immediately stop, he kind of goes over like that. So let's grab this keyframe here and just hit G and just move it in a little bit closer. Okay, so something is wrong here. What did I mess up? Okay, so let's grab this keyframe on frame 70 and go Shift D and drag it over to frame 90 like this. Let's have a look at that. Okay, that is a lot better. So he's going to be laying here and he pops up like this and he has a little bit of a spring in him and he just stops. Okay, so to get rid of this keyframe on frame 100, just select it, go X and delete. So we want him to just be, let's just create a bit of a hold here for him. So I'm going to select this keyframe on frame 90, which is this pose here. I'm going to go Shift D and just bring it to frame 110. Okay, so once he pops up, he's just going to be sitting there for a second. And then we want to start going back to his original pose. And that'll already happen because we added this keyframe in on frame 140. So let's just play that through and see what it looks like. Pops up. And then he goes down again. He pops up. And he goes down again. So this is a completely loopable animation. Okay, so let's go and just add in his, I think we should do the little drop first before we do the face expression. So go to our object mode. And when we're back in our object mode, we're going to add in another object. So we're going to go Shift A, we're going to add in a UV sphere. And with this UV sphere selected, we're going to go G, Z, bring it up, and we're going to go S to scale it down to about here. And we're going to object, enable shade smooth, and we're going to tab into edit mode. And we're going to grab this top vertice, enable proportional editing, and then we're going to go G and just make a droplet. So bring that up, S to scale it a bit, and you can spend as much time as you want. I'm just keeping it really basic, like a really basic drop here. Make it pointy. So here's my drop. Now with my original one, what I did is I added a keyframe to this as well, so it kind of stretched, giving it that squash and stretch effect as it came down. Just made it a bit more realistic, but I'm going to keep it simple for this tutorial. So with this guy, all we're going to do is go into our camera view, and we're just going to, with this guy selected, make sure it is kind of over to the side here at the bottom, like that. Okay, right there. And go into your camera view, and then we're going to go G, Z, bring this guy up, so it's out of our camera view. And what we want to do is we want to go through our frames like this, and we want to come to the point just before this guy lifts up. So where this guy lifts up, that's where we want the drop to already be in there. So what we're going to do is maybe just a few frames, like frame 44 maybe. We're going to go G, Z, bring this guy down so you can't see it. So right into the pot down here. So we don't want to be able to see it. We're going to go I and insert a location key. And then we're going to go back like this. Right, and at about, I think, frame 20, we're going to go G, Z, and bring this guy up. So it's out of a camera view, and we're going to go I and insert a location key. So let's have a look at that. So it's going to be like this. It's going to fall in, and then he comes up. Right? Okay, that's good. One thing that I always do is I just kind of pause and I have a look at it. So I know I'm being a little bit quiet sometimes, but just having a look at this. Okay, that's fine. So let's get into the mouth animations here. So I'm going to select his face, and this is quite simple. So all we're going to do is keyframe that shape key that we made. So we want to come to frame 0 or frame 1, and we want to come to this alive shape key here under our object data properties. We want to make the value 0, and hovering over this value, we want to hit I to insert a keyframe. And we want to do the same thing on frame 140. We want to hit I to insert a keyframe on a value of 0. So let's come over here. So let's just drag through it. The little drop hits. So we want to, just before this little drop comes to a stop, we want to come over here to the value of 0 and hit I again. So it's on frame 40, it's inserted another keyframe value here. And then we're going to move up just 2 frames. And then we're going to drag this value up to 1, and we're going to hit I to insert a keyframe on frame 42. So this is going to happen. As soon as it hits, he becomes alive, and he's kind of happy. But what we want to do is also come here to frame 90, just before he falls over again, drag this value down, back up to 1, so he's alive, hit I again to insert a keyframe. So you want this alive key shape to be held at a value of 1 for this distance here. And then as he's dying, it's going to go down again. So let's just move up 2 frames again. So from frame 90, I'm going to hit up 2 frames. And I'm going to drag this value back down to 0, and I'm going to hit I to insert a keyframe. So I suppose this keyframe on frame 140 was redundant, but it doesn't really matter. Let's just have a look at that. And I'm just going to get rid of my armature here because I'm getting this funny glitching because of my screen capture software. So I'm just going to go M and just move it to a new collection. You guys don't have to do this. I'm just going to hide that collection because we don't need to edit it anymore. So here we have our animation. So the little droplet's going to come down, fall in, he's going to get his water, come back, and then he falls over again as he dries out. Now with my original one, like I said before, I added all sorts of different things, but I'm keeping this one simple, and I'm sure you guys can figure out a lot of the other little things, and it'll be good practice for you guys to try and figure it out. But this has been the animation of this. So I'm going to show you how we also add in some materials here and how to render this out as a final animation as well. So what we're going to do first of all is go to our render settings here, and we're going to make sure our render engine is Eevee. You can use cycles if you want. Go ahead and enable ambient occlusion and also screen space reflections. Now let's add in some lights. So I'm going to go Shift A, go to my light settings, add in an area light, and we're going to go G, Z, bring this guy up to about here. Go to your light settings, and we're going to increase the size to 7 meters, and we're going to increase the power to 450. We're going to hit enter. Then we're going to go to our right orthographic view. We're going to go Shift D, create a light coming from the back, and then Shift D, create a light coming from the front here. Go to your top view and then rotate this one off a little bit to the side. And the same thing with this one. I'm just creating a really basic little light setup here. So if we go into our camera view, we go Z, we go rendered. Let's just have a look at the lighting here. So if you feel it's a bit underpowered, you can grab any one of these lights and bump up the power. So I might do that with a few of them and one at the top as well. This is up to you, but you don't want to go too much, but you also don't want to do too little. Also a HDRI would be great if you could add one in. There's tons of them online for free, but I'm not going to do that in this tutorial. So just keeping things simple, adding in some lights. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now what I'm going to do is select my plant here. I'm going to go to, I think it's a cactus. I should call it a cactus. Very stylized cactus. So I'm going to go to my shading. Go up here into my camera view again, go Z, go rendered. And with this guy selected, we're going to go new. And I'm just going to give him a plant material, like a kind of like a green cactusy material. Also going to come to my subsurface scatter. I'm going to make it 0.1. And I'm going to come here to the subsurface scatter color and just make it kind of like this kind of color here, right? Like a cream kind of color. I'm going to leave it at that. And I select his eyes here. I'm going to go new. And I'm going to make this one black, solid black, and we're going to bring the roughness down till they're almost completely shiny, but not all the way. Just like that. And then we're going to grab the pot here and go new. And with the pot, we're going to give it this kind of pot color here. And we're going to come down to the subsurface color and make it kind of more like a reddish kind of clay color. And we're going to give the subsurface amount a value of 0.2, and we're going to hit enter. And you can mess around with this as much as you want, but roughly these colors here work really well with some subsurface scatter. So there's our pot. We're going to grab the floor here. We're going to go new. And I made mine kind of like a pinkish color like this. Make it whatever you want. Be original. But here we have it. And also with mine, I added in some camera shake of the animation, but that's something you can do really easy with keyframing. But this is our little dude here and a little animation. Oh yeah, we forgot to add a material to the drop. So select the drop here, just go new. And we're not going to be making this look like actual water because it's a stylized kind of animation. So I'm just going to make it blue like this and bring this roughness down all the way to 0. Just like that. So here is our animation. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Okay, so now let's go over to our output settings. So we're going to go here to our output settings, click on this, go down to output, select this folder, and I'm going to select my desktop. You can select wherever. Make the file format here FFmpeg. Go to encoding and make the container an MP4 over here. And now if you go render and you go render animation, it'll render this animation out for you to your desktop or wherever you selected with this folder. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial and make it as cool as you want. I'm just keeping this one basic, the basic principles, but you can definitely go add in like a displacement modifier. That's what I did. I added a displacement modifier to my character and kind of made him displace and shrivel up with the modifiers as he went down, and then I just keyframed all of those values. It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. But this is what I'm going to leave it at. I will be making this scene file right here that we did today available to my Patreons. So if you guys aren't on Patreon, you can go and check that out in the description below. I post a lot of really cool stuff on there, including exclusive tutorials. I'll see you guys later, and thank you for watching.